Hey guys, and welcome to episode 6 of Front Boards and Four Baggers. Today we have a really special episode. We are here with ACL Woman of the Year, Cheyenne Renner. Hi, Cheyenne.
Hey.
Let's go through some of the things you did this year because it's absolutely ridiculous. For a non-ACL event, you went down to Throwdown and won the women's doubles out there. You won, at the beginning of the year, you won women's doubles bag brawl. You won the ACL Pro Shootout number 3. You won the ACL Pro All-Star Invitational. You won the ACL Women's Pro Shootout just recently. At the World Championship, you took first in women's singles, second in open singles, second in co-ed with Matt Guys, second in Pro Blind Draw, second in women's doubles, and third in World Conference Cup. That is ridiculous.
It's not even that impressive.
I was going through it. I'm like, I'm still talking.
Wow.
And that's not even all the things. Those are just the things that I could find on easy highlights.
Wow.
So amazing year. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
What do you say about how does this year feel?
Oh, it feels amazing. Like I didn't even think I could do that, and now I'm just ready to do it again.
That's awesome. So let's start with the most recent event. So you just got done with the Pro Shootout Championship that was on TV. You were in the finals against Sam Finley. The first question I have is, you guys are both lightning fast. Like you throw without, it's like the first person's done, you're already throwing again. Do you like that pace of play in a match, like when you're both throwing really fast?
I do. I like to throw fast because it keeps me from thinking. When I start thinking, then the bags go crazy.
Okay. And does the music help you as well? I know you play with headphones in. Does that?
I actually normally don't play with headphones except for when I'm on the broadcast. It's not even like about the people, but sometimes you hear Trey.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Sometimes gets to me, so that's why I listen to headphones.
Oh, that makes sense. I have noticed that, like, because Trey, for people who don't know, the broadcast, they're like right on the side of the court next to you guys.
Right.
So like, I know, like he said multiple times, like he'll like make a call when someone's planning a shot and then that person will laugh or something because you can literally hear him like talking about what you need to do like
right.
5 feet away. So that makes a lot of sense. But another question about the format too. Do you like the 10-round format that they do for TV?
No. I wish it was a full game.
Yeah, I can understand how, it changes the dynamic immensely. Like, you can no longer match each other if you have a bad round.
Right. Even like, because before you play on the broadcast, it's 12 rounds. Even that feels more like a game to 21 than 10 rounds. It's crazy the amount of difference the 2 rounds makes.
Interesting. But let's start. So the game was an insane game, back and forth game. You started out up 6-0, then Sam comes back 6-4, then you go back up 8-4, then all of a sudden you're tied 8-8, and then you go into that last round down 10-8. So, when you go into that last round, when you're walking over to the board, what's going through your head going to the last round?
Before I was like, okay, we're tied, like keep it at a minimum, like wash it. And then I give up the 2 and I'm losing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just gave this game away.
Do you like feel like you need to change your strategy at all? Like, I'm going to block, or are you just like, you're hoping for a mistake at that point because you guys are all so good?
At that point, I hope for a mistake. I'm not a blocking player. That's not my strategy at all. So I feel like I would throw more off than trying just to hope they make a mistake.
Sure. So first bag, Sam Finley throws off the back, off the right side. Does anything go through your head? Does the adrenaline start to come up? What happens when that happens?
I just took a second and I'm like, these 4 bags are worth $20,000. Well, that's different. And I'm like, just throw all 4 in. This is the most pressure I've felt.
And then you make the 4-bagger, you win. That was insane. I could see the elation in your face right after it happened. It had to have been just so much relief. And for people that don't know, granted, this Pro Shootout Championship had all the winners of the Pro Shootouts, but normal ACL events, it's a long bracket. There's a lot of rounds before that TV final. So these tournaments, they just look grueling when you look at the bracket. But it's got to be so great to just be it done and be a win. And
right. We only had to play 1 game that day. So you show up, you warm up for a little bit, you play 1 game, and you're done. It's not like you get to throw all day and practice.
Yeah.
It's different.
Oh, it's very different. But, well, let's go into a little bit of your backstory about how you got into cornhole. And for everybody listening here, Corbin's got his kids around, so he's going to try to come off mute as much as he can. But
yeah, it's the wife's at work. The kids are doing what kids do. So I'm trying to hang in there. It's my talking will be a little less, but, so me getting into cornhole, if you don't mind, Cheyenne, I literally bought like a backyard set, right, for her first birthday party. And I started throwing. And then a couple of weeks later, I was like, oh, cool, here's a tournament, So that's literally what got me into it. I started looking online. I started figuring out, hey, there's tournaments in my area. So how did you get into it, Cheyenne?
My dad's cousin knew someone who ran tournaments that was like right by our, it's like 5 minutes down the road. Dad would go play every Friday night, but I was scared to get into the blind draw and I wouldn't play it. But when we would go home, we'd practice. And then finally the director, Ed, put me in the tournament. And ever since then I was good to go.
Eddie, take over for a sec, please.
All right. Well, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I feel like that's how everyone started. Everyone had either a parent or a friend gets them into it. And it's such a good entry game. I mean, it doesn't have a huge barrier to entry in terms of like athletic ability or,
Right.
money. I mean, you need boards and you need some bags and you need people that like to do that stuff. So in your area, do you have a lot of, obviously you have to get good enough to compete at what you're competing now. Is there a lot of really good competition in your area?
Where I'm living now, the only other pro that's in this area is Dalton McClem. But when I first started playing, I was on the other coast. So I was playing with like Tanner Halbert, Ashton Spees, Kyle Malone, like all of them.
Sure. So you grew up or learned how to play with a lot of really good players
Right.
before you moved to where you are now. What was the moment that you knew you wanted to like try to go pro?
So I was playing in the regular ACL season. And at that time when I qualified, you were just, if you made like top 16 in your conference and some other things. But that was kind of when that was my goal, was to make the top 16 in the conference. And then once I did that, I was like, oh, I can go pro. That sounds good. You know what I mean?
Cool. So I guess that kind of goes into like, what is your path to pro? So, I mean, does it start back when you were doing it? Is it opens and then regionals, or was there just events that you got points and then was it points based or?
It was like just regionals and conferences. There wasn't opens then. And then you had the nationals that everybody could attend.
Okay. So did you travel a good amount at the beginning as well?
I didn't actually. So I traveled to all the regionals, the conferences. I went to the first national in Fort Lauderdale, and then I went to just the World Championship.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, let's go into like what it's like being a pro now that you're a pro. So, I mean, how much do you think are you traveling normally, like during the season?
I mean, you travel all the time for the main events. There's 4 nationals, the worlds. But then there's so many opens that you can go to. I feel like I'm always traveling.
Oh, really? Playing a lot?
Yeah.
On the week. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Even if it's not ACL, I mean, you're always traveling to other tournaments, even if they're a couple hours away.
Yeah, and that was the question I was going to ask, was on the off weekends you're not playing it. Are you still playing like your local events and stuff like that too?
Yeah, we run tournaments during the week and go to people's tournaments on the weekends.
So it's a full life commitment playing cornhole.
Yeah. Everybody laughs at you, like you tell someone, "Oh, I'm a professional cornhole player." They're like, "Really? They have that?" But when you really think about all the time and the money that's put into it.
Well, and just the skill too. I mean, once you go down this rabbit hole of cornhole, I mean, like the game is not easy, and anyone who's been playing for a good amount of time, like not only making it to the hole every time, but playing against your opponent, it's almost like a game of chess, and consistently doing it for games and games and games and games is
Right.
just so difficult to do. So, I mean, of course, as a professional of the, I mean, as much as I've played, I'm like, I know Corbin in his area in Michigan has a good amount of pros that play around.
Oh yeah, we're stacked out here.
And he tells me all the time, he's like, you play against a pro, and it's just like everything that you can do, they just do better and more consistently all the time.
It's so true. It's like you literally like, you know what? I'm gonna block them. I'm gonna get around them. They shoot over it. They're like, well, okay, it was a nice try. That would have worked against anyone else, but it's not going to work,
So we see the events on. I was just going to say, what events are you playing and that we don't get talked about? But you're saying you're playing during the week and you're playing on the weekends and whatnot. And what are things that most people don't understand about being a pro that go into being a pro, or maybe that people are like weird when you tell them about?
They just I feel like people are about cornhole are just like, really? That's a thing?
Yeah.
Like you travel the country playing cornhole?
And it's starting to get really big now too. I mean, the more and more people are getting into it. The TV is starting to cover it more. I mean, I know me and Corbin are seeing a lot more people like interested in the content we're doing, and I mean, it's blowing up in a lot of ways. I was just up at a golf weekend last weekend. We turned the TV on, and I think your match against Trey Birchfield at Worlds comes on or whatever, and we're watching it, and they're like, oh, so why are they doing that? And like even just these normal people are starting to understand. Oh, that's why they do that and stuff. And it's getting out in the mainstream, which is really cool. What is the hardest part about being a pro?
I think the traveling. Like,
I was going to say the travel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, you get to go all these places. Well, yeah, I get to go to these places, but all the time.
Yeah. And eventually, I mean, sitting in a hotel room or going in another event. I mean, at the end of the day, it's two boards in a room, and I'm sure the TV setup looks fairly similar no matter where you are. It's just placed in a different room. They just set it up. Yeah. And I don't have this question right now, but what are in a normal event you're playing in, or when you guys are indoors, what are the conditions? Does it get really humid in there and sticky, or is it usually pretty fast?
Usually they're pretty fast. Normally, like prior to this season, all season, the boards were really fast. But as the season went on this season, they just slowed down. So each event, they got a little bit slower.
And I guess that goes into one of my other questions too, of like a lot of the time when we watch it on TV, you know, most people are playing Game Changers, Vipers, all the fast ends of like all these companies' arsenals on fast boards. Is it just because of how hole friendly they are, because it's fast? I mean, what's the reason that everyone plays these crazy fast bags, even if the boards are quick?
I think it's the whole friendliness. I mean, if you're up the middle of the board, it's probably going in the hole.
Fair enough. Is there any specific players in pro right now that you either play really well against or you play poorly against? I know like everyone's the same, but is there any kind of player that somewhat gets in your head more than a different one?
I don't think anyone really gets in my head. I don't think anyone gets in my head. It's just more of where I'm at in the bracket.
Is there any play styles? So like, you know, if you play against a Ryan Windsor that wants to go all blocks all the time, or if you play, is there any play style of an opponent that is more difficult for you, or something that you're like, it's harder to play against? Like, would you rather just be shooting two fast players up the middle, 4-bag fight, or do you like the get around messy board kind of thing?
No, I would rather play against someone with my playing style, which is just slide them all in. Someone like Ryan Windsor is a little bit harder to play against. For a while, it took me a while to realize just to push through their bags, because I would try to block behind them, and then my bag would slide up and kick off, or I'd try to shoot an airmail. But once I finally realized just to push through their bags, it made the world of difference in my game.
And I know you did. I think in your match against Ryan at the World Championships, they were even talking about that a bunch. Is he kept trying to block, and you just said screw your block and just kept pushing through over and over again, basically. And which, I mean, you
they
could
just
tell.
Showcase that too on Instagram and YouTube. They just had her clip up against Ryan with him blocking her sliding through. She took them both, pinched them, dropped them all in, and it's perfect. I mean, go right through them. Why risk it, you know?
Well, if you can play up the middle, I mean, why make the game harder?
Some of us can't play up the middle, Eddie.
I understand. Most of us can't do that. Right. That's why we're interviewing her. She's not interviewing us.
Exactly. Hey, one day.
So when you play in other events, or maybe you play against some like what they call like advanced or competitive players that aren't quite pro, do you notice any differences between when you play pro players versus like your really good regional players?
I don't really notice a difference other than consistency.
Yeah, and I guess that was my next question too. Is there any common mistakes that people make, or is it more so just consistency over the course of a game?
I think someone who isn't on the pro level, like if you're playing in a regional and they're playing against someone like me with my kind of play style, I think some people will go out of their comfort zone and then try to block because they don't want to go hole for hole. And I think sometimes that gets to people rather than them playing their normal game.
Interesting. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, and if you look at a lot of the I mean, when you guys do play your programs 221, I mean, once in a while there's like a big point round if someone hits like a really big airmail drag or if someone really has a bad round. But normally it's like 2-point trades because like one person barely misses one. So I mean, it's all about just who can not make mistakes for the longest period of time. And I think Matt Guy said it at Throwdown this year is if you make every bag in the hole, you can't lose.
Yeah.
Which I guess is a good way to play the game, but.
Yep.
So we'll go a little bit into your throwing style. So I know you do kind of what we call a thumb pull, which is like you just kind of grab like in the middle of the bag and just pull to the edge to get your grip. Is that your grip you've always used? I mean, most of us start out with like the normal, half and half grip. Have you made this over time?
No, I think I always played like that. I have small hands, so that's my way of kind of controlling the bag when I throw it.
Sure. And we'll get into the new bag you are because they are big bags if you have small hands. But
yeah.
And you do the left foot forward, standing still, with a bit of a follow through. Have you always done that as well, or has that kind of been tinkering?
No, when I first started throwing, I actually threw with my right foot forward. And then I would swing my arm back, but it would be like so far you could see it behind my head, like that far.
It's like a bowling.
Up in a video, and I'm like, wow, like that's a lot of room for error, swinging your arm that far. And so with time, I figured out how to not swing my arm as far.
And that's what amazes me about Sam Finley too, is like she's like all the way around her back when she's throwing around, and yet she's very consistent with it. So, but there is a larger room for error. I mean, I'm a stepper, so I add another level of error in there, but whatever works for each person. And so, and then also, I think we said this too, you play really fast, and is it just so you don't have to think as much? It's just all muscle memory?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I wanted to ask on that because you were saying the players who you play against well or play against poorly. Since you're such a rhythm player with your speed, if you're playing against like a Damon Dennis or something, does that throw you off a little bit? Yeah,
slow players do throw me off a little bit because I'm thinking about what I'm doing, like thinking about you when normally throw.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even think about that too, because I'm a fairly fast thrower too, just for the same reasons. It's just like I see the board position and I'm already like, all right, I know I need to step out or do something. Let's just throw the shot. I don't need to think my thought process is always like, I'm not going to get better in the next 10 seconds thinking about it. like I either know how to do it now or I don't know how to do it. So I should probably just do it.
Dude, that's so fun. I'm polar opposite. Yeah. Of that. I literally have to sit there and pace myself. I leave my bags on the board on purpose. They all sit there. I grab them one at a time because I have to wait and I have to steady myself. So that's so funny.
So moving into this year, so you were with Ultra Cornhole last year. Now you've just signed with All Cornhole. So congratulations on your new signing. It's awesome. So I know right now live on the website, you have your Cheyenne Renner, All Slides, and Game Changers. I think you have some with you to show off.
I do. So I have one of every color. This is the teal. And this is the opposite. So the orange. And then the red and black. And yellow.
Oh, those are all so cool. Corbin, if you could play Game Changers, you could get these.
Hey, you know what though? I can handle all slides.
Oh, there you go.
So we got something there.
So how is the transition to the All Cornhole family, the players, been in general?
Everybody's such a family. It's always over. Everybody's so welcoming.
Okay, cool. And then I guess so. I'm a big so me and Corbin review bags. So obviously, like I'm a big fill nut and material nut. Like I care about what it feels like in my hand. Was it hard to transition from a Viper to a Game Changer or an All Slide because it's a very different bead, very different size, material thickness? I mean,
it's not that it's hard to transfer over. The only thing that's different that I'm getting used to is the size of the bag. Mm-hmm. The speed doesn't bother me. It's just the size. They're just a little bit bigger than a Viper.
They are, yeah. They are definitely a little bigger. I know on TV you were throwing Game Changers recently. Do you throw the All Slides as well? Because I know the All Slides are slightly slower without the patch, like if it's a little quicker. But you're mostly just throwing Game Changers right now?
I mostly throw the Game Changers.
Yeah, and I guess those are all those questions. But then we'll go into also with All Cornhole, you have a new doubles partner going this year with James Baldwin, which is, he's been in the scene for a really long time as well. And he's been with All Cornhole for a very long time as well. And I know a lot of people are really excited about this team. How did the team end up coming to fruition? Is it just you came to All Cornhole and he needed a partner, or did you guys talk about this beforehand, or?
I had signed with All Cornhole, and then he needed a partner. And so we talked about it and thought it would be a good pair.
And then for these doubles teams, I mean, does any practice go into this beforehand? Is it just kind of you meet up at events and throw a little bit and talk, or you both are good enough that you just assume they know what they're doing?
It's more like team chemistry. So we're planning to play in a couple of opens before the first national. So hopefully we can get better at playing together.
Okay, awesome. And I think the most important question that goes into the doubles team is you guys both have exclusive bags with All Cornhole, so which ones are you using? That's an important choice.
I don't know.
I mean, if you're using his bags, I mean, that's, I feel like they're less good than yours. I mean, come on. And then are you still going to be playing women's doubles? I know you played with Sarah Cassidy a bit last year. Are you still going to be playing with her for women's?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
I like that pairing.
It is. I mean, well,
that's a solid team.
They won a lot, so I mean, it's probably
a solid team.
Well, It helps. We're on the same page, so we're both throwing the same bag now.
Awesome.
That helps a lot.
Which does help a lot. I mean, and for anyone who's listening, I'm sure you play in a blind draw or playing something. If you get a partner that throws a bag that you cannot throw, it is really difficult to have a team. Or even when you're making a team for a local tournament, being on the same page with speeds and bags matters immensely when you're trying to play together. Corbin, if you got a quiet second, do you want to go into practice?
Yeah, I mean, if the kid doesn't fall off chairs, and because that's what happened, so we're here. It's parent life. So I know we were talking the other night, Cheyenne. You still play a lot at home, right? You said you run tournaments, you run, and then you play in tournaments when you're not running them. Do you also practice a lot, or do you really just play 6 or 7 nights a week?
I usually don't practice a lot. It's usually just going to the tournaments, and that is my practice.
Okay. And now when you're at those tournaments, are you always finding open boards? No.
She's just better than you, Corbin. I don't know what to tell you.
No, it's cool. It's whatever. That's fine. I'm not even upset. So then you don't even have really a practice routine. Do you just kind of do you have a warm up routine before games that you like to do a certain amount of things, or, slide, air mail, push, stuff like that?
No, I usually if I do go out and practice, I just try to slide them all in. Sometimes, usually I'll slide the first 3 and then try to air mail the last one, but.
Okay. And then how did you get your air mail game to be so good? Did you just shoot them?
Well, before I was running tournaments, I would actually practice and air mails a lot.
Okay. That's awesome. And do you have any advice for up and coming players that just want to get better with, consistency or air mails, or, even like you're saying that pushing through bags that you even struggle with that, do you have any advice for the new up and coming players?
So what helped me a lot was actually recording myself and watching videos and looking at my throw and say, if I was trying to push, this is what I do different. This is what I need to do. I try to watch it and make the tiny adjustments and put that in my head that this is what I have to do.
So it's really just a big focus on mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I love that. I have a baseball background. That's just clutch. So going into the 21-22 season, what's the start of the season going to look like for you?
Hopefully the same way as last year. Picking up.
You just going to come out firing?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
What's the first event of the year? Are they doing Bag Brawl again, or what's the first one that you're playing in?
Well, I'm going to a couple of the opens before the first national. The first national is in February.
Okay. And then nationals. So is the nationals the ACL events, or does ACL not start up till later on?
Yeah, that's the pro only events. The opens. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Corbin, do you have any other questions?
I only missed half of this, but I think I'm good. I'm sorry. It's just one of those nights, you know.
Yeah. Well, Cheyenne, I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. You know, you made a big transition all Cornhole this year. You got a new partner. You got a new season. Hopefully you can keep up with the pace that you got going before, because obviously something worked last year. So keep throwing them all in the hole, I guess. Up the middle is the way to go. You know, and Corbin, Matt Guy said this, if you hit all 4 in the hole, you can't lose. So it's a pretty good way to play.
I did hear that. And I actually tell people that, funny enough, like 10s are good, 12s are better, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Really cool episode, and good luck on the year.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Cheyenne.